Okay. Good.
Go ahead, Sam.
Okay, going to call the meeting of the Social Services Committee to order. First order of business is previous business, approving previous minutes. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Pass unanimous. Okay, on to the current business. Number 2, authorizing an agreement with St. Peter's Addiction Recovery Center, SPARC, regarding emergency and transitional shelter services.
And Mr. Chairman, just for the members following along on their agendas online, it's page 6.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Again, as I said last night, I want a special thanks to Majority Council and Chairman's office. This has obviously been an interesting process, and frankly, it's been navigated very, very well by we appreciate that. So first item, SPARC. It's one of our primary shelters located in Morton Avenue. It's an 11-bed facility, specializes in chemically dependent individuals. One of our annual contracts for sheltering. Obviously, even more important given what we're going through right now.
And Mr. McLaughlin, we're very happy to have you here. I'm wondering, is Michelle McClave, she not able to make it? Commissioner McClave?
No, we had conversations with Majority Council and Chairman's office, and it was decided that the County Executive's office would present all RLAs on the Public Works agenda. Last night, we presented all RLAs. We'll obviously take any questions back to our commissioners and come back to you. But in terms of ease of process, so we didn't have too many faces and have to manage when people should sign on, this was decided as the best means of managing things.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask what? I'm sorry.
Any questions from the committee? Ms. Lockhart?
No, I was going to make a motion, Chairman.
Can
That's
I
right.
ask which? I'm sorry. This is Carolyn McLaughlin. I joined the meeting late. Can I ask which item we're on?
You're on item number 2.
Number 2, which is the first item on current business.
Thank you.
So Ms. Lockhart gave a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bruschi, second. All in favor? Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass unanimous. Okay, moving on. Number 3 on the agenda is authorizing an agreement with St. Catherine Center for Children regarding emergency housing services at the Marillac residence.
And Mr. Chairman, this is on page 46.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this is our annual contract with Marillac, which is our long-term Tier 2 family shelter operated by St. Catherine Center for Children. This is a different category of shelter in comparison to all of our other shelter contracts, in the sense that it has the most intensive case management services of our shelters. And they basically manage families in the sense that they really go all in on trying to help folks get back on their feet, and obviously assist in all of the efforts to get them their own place of residence, as well as employment, health assessments, and medical services, mental health services, legal services if necessary, and childcare as well.
Thank you. And could you share do you know what provisions are being taken for this pandemic to ensure that people are it's safe at the Marillac residence and at all of the shelters?
Yeah, so depending on what location, it's different. Obviously, if we're talking about our non-tier 2 shelters, so all of our other shelters, it's specific to each location. So if we're talking about Marillac, each family is in a unit. So if they necessarily need to isolate, they can isolate, and the facility itself and the administration of the facility can provide them food. If they need to be enrolled in our program because they're quarantined through Department of Health, we have, I'm sure everyone's heard that National Guard is donating, or excuse me, delivering food, which has been donated by the food bank to those who need groceries. We also, if it's unlikely, I'm in Marillac's case, but if folks need home delivered meals and are over 60, we can run it through our home delivered meal program, or we can run it through Feed Albany for the prepared meals for those that don't qualify for home delivered meals. In addition to that, we are providing as much PPE through our Department of Health. Those supplies are limited to our contracted providers. This includes, although I think recently that we don't have the supplies to do so, but I had originally included even cleaning supplies. But of course, it also goes to masks, gloves, things of that nature. And of course, each shelter has to have a plan in place related to social distancing, et cetera, for their clients. If we're talking about the non-Marillac type shelters that may actually be housing individuals in a larger, more congregate traditional setting, they're doing everything they can to install dividers. Individuals are sleeping head to toe, and then they also have removable dividers that can separate individuals as well. And they've also, for those places that serve meals, have created rotations so that individuals that come in to have meals have the necessary spacing so as to minimize the risk.
Thank you. Did you know, are the shelters still letting everyone out during the day?
Yes, yeah, all of them. Yeah, there hasn't been any change related to that side of the management. Yeah, and of course we have some shelters that have no contract with the county at all, and so they're operating without any interaction really.
Okay. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Lockhart, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pass unanimous. And number 4, authorizing an agreement with Catholic Charities regarding emergency shelter services.
Yes. Oh,
And Mr. Chairman, it's page 73.
Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
I just got knocked off. I wasn't even touching my phone. I don't know what happened, but I was gone. And so this is, I mean, I don't know how that happened. So I missed that vote on that item. And I had a question, but I got lost. So
I can answer a question on the previous item if necessary.
well, regarding all of the emergency shelters such as Marillac, do we have any direct responsibility for how they are complying with safe distancing and how they're sheltering in place? Do we have any direct responsibility to that?
So a couple things. So Marillac's not Marillac's a tier 2 shelter, so it's not an emergency shelter. If we're talking about like this item, Catholic Charities, so this is St. Charles Luanga and Mercy House, Spark Morton Avenue, which was the first item. Number 2 that we went over. We got Skylar Inn coming up. Those places. So we're responsible in this. If you're saying like liability, no, but if you're saying that, do we have a responsibility to assist them in any way we can, then I would say yes. And that's kind of what we're in the process of doing. You know, we've been in contact with all of them. We've been in contact with the Coalition for the Homeless, CARES, the group of them that exists to kind of assist them in their planning on everything from, you know, if they have a specific issue about their location, right? Like, so we have certain providers. Interfaith Partnership for the Homeless, as an example, has some areas where folks sleep in more of a congregate room, where they also have individual rooms depending on your needs and things of that nature. So if they have a specific need related to things, then they can come to our Department of Health and get our advice. And then, of course, from a supply perspective, if it's hand sanitizer, PPE, like I said, very early on, we had cleaning supplies, which I don't believe exists anymore. Then yes, we do have that responsibility.
Okay. Is there any data available on whether they had any people test positive at those particular sites?
Yeah, so off the top of my, I will get back to you on this one.
Okay.
Later. But off the top of my head, we haven't, actually, I do know. I'm almost positive we haven't had any positive residents. We've had positive staffers. We had to relocate a large number of individuals from Interfaith Partnership for the Homeless because they have been exposed to a positive individual who is a staffer. Of course, I'm sure folks have heard that City Mission had a positive staffer as well. But I'll have to check on the positives related to actual residents and get back to you, but I can get that. That shouldn't be a problem.
The fact that there was no positive residents seems surprising. Do you think that's accurate, or do you think that they're just not getting tested?
I don't know. It could be. It also could be so much. It could be something like they leave a shelter. That maybe they were at City Mission. They left a shelter and they went and got tested, and then they were quarantined through DSS, and so it was never connected to a shelter. Right now, the statistics are kind of a difficult moving target. Contact tracing is a lot more complicated than people realize. So we have a whole team of folks at DOH just doing that.
Are they testing people at the Mission? Do you know?
So right now you are only getting tested for cause. So if you have, Sean, you may be able to jump in on this too a little bit, but if you're symptomatic or you have some verifiable direct exposure to somebody, there's no place in the county right now that I know of that's just doing blanket wide testing of like everybody at a location, for example.
Okay.
That's correct, Mike, yes.
Is that okay? Good. Legislator McLaughlin, do you have anything else on that one?
No, that's good. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, back to number 4 for you again. Annual contract, Catholic Charities, that's 2 locations, Mercy House, St. Charles, Luonga. Mercy House is a female shelter, St. Charles, Luonga is a male shelter.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. McLaughlin, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bruschi, all in
I'm
favor?
freezing up. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yep, again.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose?
Aye.
Pass unanimous. Just gonna comment, we do have a quorum and we are complying with the Governor Cuomo's executive order regarding open meetings law through live streaming this on YouTube. So just want to make note of that to everyone. Next on the agenda, number 5, authorizing an agreement with Skylar Inn regarding transitional shelter services.
And this is, Mr. Chairman, page 115.
Thank you.
So this is your annual contact with Skylar Inn. The shelter specializes in families.
We have some veteran, do we still have a veterans wing over there?
They have a veterans wing, yes. I'm almost positive it still is. As a matter of fact, I think it was under construction somewhat recently, renovation. But yes, my understanding is they have a certain number of units for veterans, basically.
Right.
And are there any other questions from the committee? Can we get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Lockhart, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passed unanimous.
Now, as we go forward here, am I to assume, and maybe I should have asked this, the conditions within each of these agreements is consistent with the previous year, or there are any significant, without any significant changes from year to year?
No, generally speaking, our contracts for homeless shelters, I don't know of any major changes.
From what I can see, they're all the same.
A few years ago, when I first started here, we had strengthened some language related to services provided to the residents for obvious reasons. But since then, I don't think there's been any major changes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 6, authorizing an agreement with Interfaith Partnership for the Homeless regarding transitional shelter services.
And this is page 158, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yep, I had mentioned the shelter here a little earlier in my comments. This is another one of our providers. They can provide for any, it's a 30-bed facility. It serves both males and females, and it has a handicap access, and it's also a very beneficial location because it has a specific bed that is for high-risk individuals. This could be individuals coming out of the hospital, transgender individuals, things of that nature. That is very helpful when we place folks.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee?
Sam, it's Paul Bergdorf. I have a general question on all of these, and I absolutely support them. But when we enter into an agreement with these organizations, like this one it says 2% federal funding, 33% state, 65% county. If for some reason the state did not or cut their level of funding, is there some non-appropriation mechanism, or are we on the hook, or what happens?
Oh, very good. I'm happy that you asked that question, and I would like to give a shout out to Minority Counsel because he was on his game and asked me that question. Yes, all of our contracts have I'm not sure the legal terminology, but an out clause that would allow us to terminate the contract should the funding mechanisms that back up the contract not come through.
Thank you. Good to know.
That is a very relevant question. Of course, what would we do? I mean, has this happened before? Have we terminated a contract like this? I mean, this is a vital service. So what would happen if we were to lose that funding?
It's never happened in my time here, so we'd have to address the problem when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, we have to house the homeless. So we can't just forget about our duty to do that. So it would be certainly a difficult situation. Anyways, I guess any other questions from the committee? Okay, motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Lockhart, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Purley, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Pass unanimous. Number 7, authorizing agreements with New York State Office of Temporary Disability Assistance and various providers regarding reimbursement for Code Blue services in Albany County.
And Mr. Chairman, that's page 198.
Thank you.
Yep, this is an annual thing. I think this is actually supplement to something we've already gotten, but this is just reimbursement for our providers related to the activities that they did during Code Blue this past winter.
Thank you. And are there any questions from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion
Make a
to,
motion.
Lockhart, is there a second?
second.
Mr. Burley, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass unanimous. Number 8, amending resolution number 17 for 2019 with Access Transit Inc. regarding transportation services for eligible seniors.
And page 210, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yep, this is a contract with Access Transit for our brokerage service. It's through CDTA. This is for all of our transportation for seniors. This is medical appointments, pharmacies, grocery shopping, food pantry, adult daycare, congregate sites when those are possible, et cetera. So we've had this contract with them for a few years.
Thank you. And are there any questions from the committee? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Pass unanimous. Number 9, amending resolution number 443 for 2018 with Life Path, formerly Senior Services of Albany, regarding congregate meal services for seniors.
Mr. Chairman, it's page 215.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question about this one. I understand some of the places where they were doing congregate meals have been eliminated. Can we get a list of where these sites are? Is that included in the information?
Yep,
I'm not look-
there's a list right on the cover letter. Yep.
Okay, I'm just not, let me take a look at that.
No problem. And we, just give me a call if you have any questions about our, this is congregate meals. I think it just, one thing I should mention, this is for Life Path, formerly Senior Services of Albany. Just, I think a question that's pretty obvious given what's going on. NYSOFA has given a waiver for any congregate meal funding to be used for home delivered meals. So even though obviously it'll be a seamless transition back when that is possible, but until that point, we're able to kind of supplement folks who feed themselves through this or home delivered meals by using solely the home delivered meal option.
Because I weren't there at one time, I thought there were meals being served at the Livingston Apartments. I don't see.
There's been, the locations have changed pretty fluidly throughout my time, depending on turnout and things like that, so.
Hmm.
I think they just may have moved one, the Vincenzo Institute had one. I think that may have moved. Maybe I have that wrong, but I know they had one, just they had to go to NYSOFA to get a change.
And you say that the locations changed because of usage?
Yeah, I think the reason they gave to NYSOFA for the last request for a change was low utilization. Yes.
So I see, like in Albany, there's Westview, Southmont Towers, and the Frank Chapman Memorial Institute. Ohab Shalom Apartments, I see is still there. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure, and see Waterville. What happened to the site that was in Green Island?
But probably different provider.
Okay, all right.
Mike?
Yes.
Aren't there other contracts that cover some of the other congregate meals?
Yeah, it's a region. That's exactly right, Patty. Yep. So there's different zones within the county that are covered by different providers, and of course, the zones are different for congregate than they are for home delivery. So yeah, there's different providers. I think we got another one coming up here.
Yeah, these aren't the only places, Carolyn, that we do congregate meals. They're just under separate contracts.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I'll just look at the next one then. I'm fine.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay,
I'll make a motion.
hearing none, motion approved. Ms. Lockhart, second, Mr. Ricard, and motion, say, what do we say? Vote aye to, all in favor.
Aye.
That was the word I
Aye.
said. All in favor.
Sam, Mr. Chairman, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
I'm actually not on this committee, but I just wanted to reiterate that
Oh.
I visited the Life Path Center in Cohoes yesterday.
Aye.
And the folks are really doing a great job there. Unfortunately, they need, the additional funding because they're actually looking for drivers because they're going out to so many houses. So anything to help those folks out, it's really appreciated. That's all I wanted to say, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricard. And I guess since I didn't realize you weren't on the committee, so we'll need someone to second it who is on the committee.
I'll make the second.
Mr. Purley, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimous. Number 10, amending resolution number 441 for 2018 with senior projects of Ravina regarding home delivered meals for seniors.
So just kind
Chairman,
of,
it's page 220. Sorry, Mike.
no, sorry, I keep forgetting about you, Kevin. That's my bad. So this is the same as Patty had mentioned, or Legislator Lockhart had mentioned. This is the same, just different provider. This is senior projects or Ravina.
Okay, thank you. And are there any questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none, motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Ms. Lockhart, is there a second?
Second.
Second,
Mr. Bruschi, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Passed unanimous. Number 11, amending resolution number 442 for 2018 with Peter Young Industries regarding home delivered meals for seniors.
And page 226, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So we're moving into home delivered meals. The next two are home delivered meals. The first is Peter Young Industries.
Thank you. And are there any questions from the committee?
One quick question. For all the home delivered meals, has the request for services increased because of the virus?
Yes, significantly. Yes.
And we're able to accommodate most of the requests?
Very, very, very good question. I'm happy you asked them. Thank you. So yes, we have seen a significant increase in the need. This is partially due to just because I think folks who are elderly and obviously qualify for home delivered meals are actually afraid to go out and shop. But in addition, you have the perfect storm of folks who are then being put into quarantine and they can't. And of course, then it's compounded further by the fact that you have some folks who are being put into quarantine in motels. So then if you give them groceries, unless it's peanut butter and bread and, tuna in a can, there's not really much from a preparation or a storage perspective. So we have, Commissioner Ratana done a phenomenal job working with our providers to increase productivity with their providers. Okay. They're really churning out meals really well. In addition, they've toggled over to producing shelf stable or frozen meals so that they can give folks a bit of a cushion, if you will. Let's say they miss a meal or they're getting grocery delivery as a supplement as well, and they miss a delivery to kind of get folks through. So yeah, our providers of home delivered meals have really stepped up to the plate. I can't say enough good about all of them. In fact, we've gotten some who have said that if things, of course, knock on wood, it looks like the worst case won't happen, right? We still hope that's going to be the case. But we had some providers come to us and say, we have another kitchen, we can open it up and get things churning out of that kitchen as well if necessary. So, we've actually been in pretty good shape in that regard, knock on wood, and we really hope that it remains that way.
Thank you. And thank you for asking that, Mr. Simpson. Are there any other questions from the committee? Okay, is there a motion to
I'm
approve?
frozen again.
We can hear you.
Got you, Patty.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Pearly? There's
Second.
Second.
Ms. McLaughlin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Okay, the last item on the agenda is number 12, amending resolution number 440 for 2018 with Life Path, formerly Senior Services of Albany, regarding home delivered meals for seniors.
And page 232.
Very similar contract, just with LifePath.
Thank you. And are there any questions from the committee? Hearing none, motion to approve.
Motion.
Ms. McLaughlin, second. Ms. Lockhart, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass unanimous. But before we adjourn, I just, due to this pandemic and the unusual circumstances we're in, I'd like to ask another question, and other people have any questions as well. Just could you give us a little bit of information on this program we offer, temporary assistance SNAP, how much of an increase that we've seen in those applications to those services?
Yeah, so we've seen about a 25% increase in our SNAP. These figures are a little out of date. Forgive me, I'd actually provided a letter to to the Legislative Black Caucus about this, so I'm going off of those figures. But 25% increase in those requests. We've seen a significant increase. I think it was around 60% in the number of calls coming into New York Connects. Of course, New York Connects being the single point of entry into DSS and aging, especially for those who are older. And of course, a lot of those calls are about accessing benefits. We haven't really seen an significant increase from a TANF perspective quite yet, your temporary assistance, but we anticipate that there's probably a delay on that one, kind of similar to the unemployment delays, that delay and then the increase in unemployment. And then I guess the only positive, not that you'd call it a positive, but We haven't seen an increase in eviction prevention because evictions are suspended. So there's that. So that's the kind of general lay of the land. And there hasn't been much of a change from a Medicaid perspective so far that we've noticed. So that's kind of the general overview of where we're at from a benefit perspective.
Thank you. And with the increase in applications, is our staff able to handle that, or have there been difficulties?
Yeah, so far our commissioners, our commissioner and deputy commissioner, Michelle McClave and Aaron Stakowitz, have done a phenomenal job in maximizing the productivity of the workforce. Everyone's obviously right out straight. Doesn't really matter what department, and they've done a phenomenal job. They're able to. So far, we've been able to process the applications according to the normal schedule. So we'll have to reevaluate as things go, and if we see an increase in requests. We had a conversation actually relatively recently about anticipating an increase. If that anticipation comes true, we'll have to reevaluate because this is always a moving target, but so far so good.
Thank you. And does anyone else have any questions?
No,
Chairman Fine?
Yes.
Hi, Sam. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I'm not on the committee, but I've been watching on YouTube. One thing I just wanted to comment on, I'm going to have more to say on the finance committee tomorrow. It seems like we're doing these committee meetings as business as usual, but things have really changed a lot. And we are not going to have the money that we thought we were going to have when we made this budget. So we really have to be thinking about where are we going to get some cuts in spending in order to be able to afford what's going to happen this year on the revenue side. And I haven't seen any discussion of that in any of the meetings so far. So that's just something that I think everybody has to be mindful of.
Mr. Bergdorf did ask a question earlier about what happens if that state funding on some of these programs that we rely on is cut. And
No, but I heard Paul's question, but I'm talking about something different. All these typical proposals that we send up to the committees, one committee after another, they were based on a revenue projection that no longer exists. And therefore, we really have to be thinking now, not at the end of the year, on how we're going to manage spending better.
Okay, so Mark, do you mean like all of these increases that we just did to LifePath and for all these other are based on increase in need? Where's that money coming from? That's your question.
Well, in part, yeah. But yeah, the question is, how are we going to manage with the revenues that are needed? How are we going to manage the spending? And we have to think about where, for example, can we hold off on projects this year for another year? What about all the vacant lines in the budget? There's a lot of possibilities here, but we as committee members in each committee have got to be talking about this really now. We can't wait to the end of the year because we're not going to have the revenue to fund all this spending.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question because at this point, we're going to have a difficult time with the budget as it was passed.
Yeah.
Much less now all these changes that are being added to it. And so, no, I think it's a great question. And we do have to be proactive in terms of how are we going to address this? We can't wait till the end of the year to figure that out.
I just want to see that. I haven't seen any discussion of that yet. And we really have to start discussing this.
Yeah.
And I got some ideas, but it's not up to me to come up with all the spending limitations. But we're going to be in a real pot at the end of the year because it's pretty clear that the sales tax revenue, which is our number one source of revenue, is not going to be near what we expected it to be.
we're definitely going to have some difficult decisions to make, and especially with the budget coming up. So yeah, it's not going to be easy. I mean, when it comes to social services, I think this is one of our core functions as a county, and these are the services that people now are relying on more than ever. So, we have to, I know that it's we're worried about revenue, but we have to do whatever we can to ensure that these services continue, in my opinion.
Well, we have to prepare for the worst because this thing's going to get worse before it gets better, I believe.
This is Paul. I'm not on the committee either, but I think, I've been reading an awful lot, and I think the governor next week is going to outline his first series of cuts to the budget under his executive order. And I know school districts are braced up to 20% cut. So I don't know. Going to be on the table.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to keep watch of what goes on at the state and react quickly.
Yeah, if I could, Sam, is if you feel that social services is your top priority, that's okay. But then you have to be thinking about where we might be able to cut spending somewhere else. In other words, we simply are not as a group going to have the same amount of money. And we really have to come up with responsible projections on where we can find money elsewhere.
Yeah, and look, we're going to have these conversations during the budget process. And I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that's for next year. But I'm saying right now, over the last month, we lost a fortune in sales tax over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and that's only going to continue.
Yeah.
Are there any things that were projected that came out of this committee? Some additional spending that was projected coming out of this committee for 2020? Because I think you got to start at home first. If each particular committee is going to be looking at this, and I know that we're saying that, as the chairman just said, this is probably like the basis of the work that we do. But are there areas in this committee or in social services that can be cut? This is just a rhetorical question. I'm not asking for an answer. But if each committee has to look at themselves to see how they're going to contribute.
Yes.
Yeah, for example, a question I have, and maybe the administration can help this out, is mandated costs, mandated programs. We hear about that all the time. But in the mandated programs, are all the costs in that programs mandated? In other words, are we going beyond what is essentially absolutely mandated? I'd love to know if there are differences between a mandated program's mandated cost and the cost in that mandated program that are not. That'd be, I think, an opportunity to investigate.
Mr. Grimm, thank you for bringing these important issues up, but we're going to wrap this up. I think these are better suited for the Audit and Finance Committee meeting. So
yeah, thanks, Chairman. I appreciate it. Yeah.
That committee meeting about these issues. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Zabruski, second.
Second.
Lockhart, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.